Whenever I need to send roses that are guaranteed to make someone's day, the only place I trust is 1-800-Flowers.com. With 1-800-Flowers, my friends and family always receive stunning, high-quality bouquets that they absolutely love. Right now, when you buy a dozen multicolored roses, 1-800-Flowers will double your bouquet to 2 dozen roses. To claim this special double roses offer, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/WWO. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/WWO.
Come to DSW for the shoes, stay for the fun. Because let's be honest, if shoe shopping isn't fun, are you even doing it right? So go ahead, try something new. Try something different. Good different. Try something that feels like you. You know, the real you. And then definitely brag about it later. Because at DSW, you've got unlimited freedom to play. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW, let us surprise you.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.
Looking for these better days.
It is Wednesday, November 12th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. A good night for the database and the picks up on betterday.com. Speaking of the databases, the creator or the founder of the data or the curator of the data, that's the word I was looking for, Mackenzie. Kevin Rogers will join us coming up here in a few minutes. He's Mackenzie Rivers. He is with me on this episode of Better Day presented by FanDuel. The NFL Week 11 Trench Report is out, so we will unveil those results for you as well. But Mac, I want to start in the NBA because you had a best bet winner up on betterday.com last night with the Thunder, a 126-102 win over the Golden State Warriors. And then also up on betterday.com, as we were looking at the database for the first quarter and first half, you'll notice that the Denver Nuggets were a perfect 9-0 ATS in the first quarter of games this season. And it's funny, you and I spoke about this before the game last night, and you said, yeah, I'm not going to go in on it tonight. I'm going to wait till maybe it loses and then go in on it. And what happened last night? Well, the Nuggets did not cover in the first quarter. So they did win they lost the first quarter 34-33. They did win the game though, 122-108 over the Kings. So 9-1 now in the first quarter for the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, I learned my lesson. I got a little too greedy when I kept fading the Wizards game after game, and I looked it up and they were actually 1-9 ATS. And I went back to the well with the Pistons and that lost. But with the Nuggets, sometimes 9-0, we just needs to come back to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
My model did like the Nuggets to cover this 9.5 point spread. Good night for the model. It's been a good little run here. 3-1, but I'll take my 1-0 on Better Day with the Thunder easily covering.
Yes, and speaking of that model, I'm glad you mentioned it because as we are announcing pretty much on every podcast episode, it seems, we're announcing all the new features that are coming to betterday.com, and Kevin will join us here in a couple of minutes to talk about the NHL and NBA databases and also just some interesting ways to use the databases because you might just think, oh, I'm going to look up the first quarter or first half ATS records, and that's the only bet I'm going to place. No. Look inside the numbers to find different valuable bets. Same thing with the NHL. So we'll wait till Kevin explains that. But we are also going to introduce a little bit of Mackenzie's NBA model to the website. Mac, you have been working on this. You've been kind of formulating how you are assessing teams now to this point. And you mentioned the model's been on a pretty good run. Well, you're going to be able to share some of your model results with our subscribers.
Yes, and the reason why I think, I mean, I've been tuning it, but this is the model that I entered the season with, and it's now 34-27. And most nights it spits out 1-2 games. Usually I'm on one or two of those games. I love it when I was already planning to be on that game, and the numbers agree with that decision. But 10 games, a record 10 games out of the 12 fit the model tomorrow. So 34-27 so far. It's gonna It's going to have a lot of more data to chew on after this.
Yeah, we have a massive schedule of games here for this Wednesday evening, and so we'll go over maybe some of the plays that you like here on the schedule. The one game that I'll just look at, Mackenzie. So we talked about the Nuggets and their 9-0 ATS first quarter streak, which came to an end last night by losing in the first quarter to the Kings. Well, the Nuggets take on the Clippers here on Wednesday night, second of a back-to-back. They are in LA at the Intuit Dome. Do we go back to the well with Denver in the first quarter now that the streak is snapped? Do we start a new streak? What would be your inclination here? And is this one of your model picks?
No team has been downgraded as much as the Clippers. They look slow and sluggish. And I like to see, as I assess this, 3-7, according to the Better Day data, ATS in the first quarter for the Clippers, which makes sense. If they are being taken a step back this season because of their veteran style, their more half-court style, and this faster, younger league is overrunning them, makes sense that would happen in the first quarter. And the Nuggets, because they're on the game, they're getting discounted because of the back-to-back. They should be like 4-point favorites, but they're 2-point favorites. In the first quarter, you'd have to think that would matter the least because that's when the attrition is the least. I'll have to dig into that a little more, but generally back-to-backs matter less early in the season because there's less wear and tear, and I think in the first quarter especially.
What do you think about the Thunder hosting the Lakers here? This is the nationally televised ESPN game. Thunder right now up on the FanDuel Sportsbook, 7.5-point favorites over the Lakers, and it's the second of a back-to-back for the Thunder as well.
Yeah, it shows you how great that bet was, -7.5 versus the Warriors yesterday, because now they're on a back-to-back, and they're still 7.5 versus a similar tier contender, obviously the Lakers without LeBron James. I lean to the Thunder. The model actually does like it. It's the 10th pick that makes the threshold, so not just barely over the line, but still. It really comes down to, can you stop the head of the snake? Luka Doncic is the one guy that can get past the number one defense in the NBA. Steph Curry, after a week off, was not up to that task. 5 fouls early because they make you play on both sides of the ball, and he never got going. Luka Doncic will be more primed and ready to go. Still, the rest of the team, if Luka doesn't have 40, I like the Thunder to cover at least.
Okay. Do you want to give out maybe one model play here on the pod, and then we'll tease the rest coming to betterday.com later on here on Wednesday?
Yeah, you're going to have to go to the website to see the rest, but the number one model play is the Celtics versus the Grizzlies because the Celtics have been rolling relatively to the Grizzlies. I know they lost to the Sixers, but you look at their compared margins, they've massive edge for the Celtics, even though the Grizzlies have shot better and their opponents have shot worse, meaning the Grizzlies have gotten lucky but are still losing by margin. I think the Celtics have a great chance with all the threes they take to have variance come on their side on this one.
You know, I wish this was last year because then this would be like our system play. Celtics after a loss going with the opponent's team
without
total.
Jason Tatum, does that still hold? Because that's been a great bet for 4 years. I think it's got to be at least a lean because of that.
I got to be honest, Mackenzie. As I'm looking at it right now, I actually think it's still a play. I'm just looking at their results this year, and I'm looking at the games after a loss, and it looks like the opponent's team total is going under. So, oh my goodness, is the system back? Let's see.
They're doing all right. Yeah, they've
so they're
bounced back defensively.
They're 3-3 ATS after a loss so far this season, right?
Okay.
But their opponent's team total is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 to the under.
That's what I'm talking about. We identified it last year, and we
We're
never
back.
doubted.
We're back.
We're back.
Yes, I love it. The system is back for the Boston Celtics after a loss. Okay, so maybe we go with the Grizzlies team total under here in this game tonight. We did also hit a winner in the NHL last night with the first period over between the Colorado Avalanche and the Anaheim Ducks. The Avalanche win the game 4-1. This was a 1-1 tie at the end of the first period, so over 1.5 did cash. And shout out to the NHL database, which showed that Anaheim, the number 1 team in first period overs, Colorado, like the number 5 team in first period overs. This was a great play courtesy of the database. Again, go to betterday.com. The NHL and NBA databases are there. Kevin Rogers will join us here in a couple of minutes to explain how he formulates his bets from the databases as well. So you definitely want to stick around for that conversation. But it's a Wednesday, Mackenzie, and I know what all the people are tuning in for, right? They want to hear about what Mackenzie did on Tuesday night. No, they want to hear about the Trench Report. So let's get to the Week 11 NFL Trench Report. I'll be honest, when I was looking at the results this week, there were some that I don't want to say I disagreed with, because that's like the wrong way to say it, but I was very very intrigued by the results. And I found myself kind of, I don't want to say justifying, because maybe that's the wrong term I'm looking for. I found myself like counter-arguing. Maybe that's the point I make. Oh, a counter-offer. See, us lawyers, I'm a lawyer, call that a counter-offer. I found myself countering the Trench Report a little bit this week. So let's go through the list right now of the top 5 biggest mismatches of Week 11. The number 1 biggest mismatch is the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Cincinnati Bengals. Now that one, not going to surprise you. Row. Yeah, but it's not going to surprise you. The Bengals stink, right? And the Bengals are always going to show up in, a bad portion here of the Trench Report. But the Steelers are coming off of a loss, so I wondered if their performance in that Sunday night game would downgrade them in any way. But actually it didn't, because their pass rush still holds up as elite. And, going up against a Bengals team that doesn't really protect the quarterback, that can't really get after the quarterback themselves, Steelers seem like the right side here in this matchup.
I'll say this, for Survivor, I don't want any other Steelers game besides this one. This is the only time I would trust the Steelers to get it done. Off of a loss, back at home, versus a team in their division that beat them. They're not going to be surprised by Joe Flacco 2 weeks in a row. So not a believer in the Steelers, but I think they roll here.
That's actually a great point. Division revenge. We love those spots. All right, the number 2 biggest mismatch in the Trench Report this week, the Jacksonville Jaguars over the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Chargers, who got that win over the Steelers on Sunday Night Football, will now travel cross-country to Jacksonville, where they are laying points, Mackenzie, against the Jags. So the Trench Report says that maybe Jacksonville as a home dog is the play here in this game. Right now, plus 2.5 up on FanDuel.
It feels like everyone kind of just gave the Chargers like a major upgrade for the Steelers win. But if you look at that game, they didn't do much offensively. They allowed 5 sacks themselves. It was really just waiting for the Steelers to make mistakes, which they did. Aaron Rodgers had his worst game maybe of his career with a 4 QBR. I'm not sure the Chargers needed an upgrade there, and I think they might get found out with their still shoddy offensive line more against the Chargers here.
Okay. The number 3 biggest mismatch of the week. This one is the one where I found myself giving the counter argument. Okay. Washington Commanders over the Miami Dolphins in Madrid, Spain.
A neutral field.
Yeah. This is the counter argument I was trying to say. I was trying to at least talk myself into. Miami's actually looked better over the past couple of weeks. But the thing is, their numbers fit accordingly. So, as their performances have gotten better, and last week was a great performance against Buffalo, that's factored in the numbers. So I can't just say that, Miami's looked better, so maybe I should upgrade Miami or whatever, but that's what the numbers are. Like, the PFF grades are going to change based on good performances. Guess what? The results-based data that I use, like the win rates, that's going to factor in if they have a good game or a bad game, because it's going to upgrade or downgrade their numbers. So even though Washington lost and they're down to Marcus Mariota, and Mariota actually didn't look bad in that game last week anyway, but I found myself just saying maybe Miami is the side here, but the Trench Report says this is a pretty big mismatch.
I believe it's an art and a science. And if you look at thousands of games, thousands of teams, you'll be like, all right, the last 5 games matters this much, but the first 10 games matters more, and you aggregate it out. But is there a material reason to think the heart of the Dolphins, the trenches of the Dolphins, has changed since they got rid of Jalen Phillips, since they got rid of whoever else they got rid of, and they kind of said, all right, we're, turning a new leaf, and we're having Mike McDaniel play out the string, and he can do whatever he wants because he's probably a dead man walking. I don't know. Or maybe it's just two random results and the Bills laid an egg, and really we should trust the season-long data. Tough one for me. Tough one in a neutral field. I'll be watching the sidelines.
Mm-hmm. Number 4 biggest mismatch of the week. This is another one where I found myself giving counter arguments for, because it's one that, I look at it and I think, I'm not gonna bet against this. But then I thought, something? I actually think this is the right side. The number 4 biggest mismatch of the week, the Cleveland Browns over the Baltimore Ravens.
Wow.
What do you think, Mac? What do you think? We love the Ravens. We love the way they're playing. We think they're healthy and they're a machine right now, and they're going to win this division. They're laying 8.5 here on the road in Cleveland. This is a division game against a Cleveland defense that ranks still very highly. They have according to the Trench Report, and these are not made-up numbers. These are fact-based numbers. The Browns right now have the number 1 graded pass rush and the number 1 graded run defense.
I think we look at Ravens team total under. The Browns defense have the last 2 years, maybe the last 3 years, under that defensive coordinator whose name escapes me, former coach of the Lions right now. Jim Schwartz. They've been excellent overall, or they've been very good overall, maybe top 10-ish if you average out their data. Excellent at home. 17 points per game allowed at home versus 30 on the road. They allowed 27 to the Jets somehow last week. I feel like if you're going to play them, you play them at home here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to play the Browns in this spot.
All right, the hardest bets to make, right?
Yeah. Okay, number 5 biggest mismatch on the Trench Report. I'm going to let you guess what the number 5 biggest mismatch in the Trench Report is this week, because it's a team that is always on the Trench Report that I haven't mentioned yet.
It's the Denver Broncos. I was wondering if they'd make an appearance. Are the Chiefs that inferior to the Broncos? Because they're 4-point favorites.
The Chiefs are 3.5 right now up on FanDuel in Denver. Now, the Chiefs do grade out tremendously, and this is not as big of a mismatch as the top mismatches. Like, for example, the Steelers have a 43.7 point discrepancy in my grading system between them and the Bengals as the number 1 mismatch.
Yeah,
the Broncos, an 11.8 point differential between them and the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's why there's a big difference between the number 5 mismatch and the number 1 mismatch. So, and here's some other ones that maybe you could consider, right? So the Broncos have this, 11.8 advantage. Ones that like maybe just missed. Texans advantage over the Titans was 10.5. Packers over the Giants, 11.4. So those are like very, very close. Falcons, 10.6 over the Panthers. So it's like, do you want to replace? Like, would you rather? Would it be better if I put the Packers over the Giants in here at number 5 instead of the Broncos versus Chiefs?
Well, it's an arbitrary line, and you have to make that line because you have 5 circus selections that you make every week. But no reason not to just do the top 3 trench ports or the top 7, depending how you feel. It's crazy to me that the Broncos are probably better at every level than the Chiefs, but they're huge home underdogs in Mile High Stadium because they have Bo Nix and Patrick Mahomes is on the other side. It really is a team versus quarterback situation.
Yeah. See, I think like just because I put out the top 5 biggest mismatches, and that was my 5-week experiment in the Circa Millions contest, was to do all 5. You don't like. We can cut it. We can cut it at the top 3. Like we can cut it at, when I first put out the Trench Report, before I did the 5-game experiment for the Circa Millions contest, it was, I was just doing like the grade A mismatches were like 20 points or greater. Then grade B was below. So maybe I'll go back to that. And if that was the case, then we would only have 3 grade A matchups, which would be the Commanders, Jaguars, and Steelers. So, you listen, there's different ways to use the data. Certainly you can use it as looking at the rushing mismatches, which has been extremely profitable over the past couple of weeks, just looking at the rushing mismatches in the Trench Report, and also profitable looking at the close games. The close games this week, the most narrow matchups, Bears, Vikings, Lions, Eagles, and Patriots, Jets, believe it or not.
Ooh, are you saying the Jets have a chance?
I'm
They
saying
do have Justin Fields, though. Maybe
I'm
it's
saying
closer than we think. Yeah.
I'm saying in the trenches, it's closer than we think. Yeah, I might be inclined to take 12.5 with the Jets.
Yeah, that line's moving really for no reason other than hype.
Yep.
From 10.5 now to 12.5. Some juicy points there.
Yep. So Full Trench Report is available, released every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. It is available for you up on BetterDay.com and emailed to all of you BetterDay.com subscribers. All right, let's get to Kevin Rogers coming up here as he will go over some really cool ways how to take advantage of both the NBA first quarter and first half database and the NHL first period database that we launched this week up on BetterDay.com.
Come to DSW for the shoes, stay for the fun. Because let's be honest, if shoe shopping isn't fun, are you even doing it right? So go ahead, try something new. Try something different. Good different. Try something that feels like you. You know, the real you. And then definitely brag about it later. Because at DSW, you've got unlimited freedom to play. With sneakers, boots, and everything in between for every style, mood, and occasion, you'll definitely find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. DSW, let us surprise you.
Joining us now on the podcast is the man behind the data. If you guys have enjoyed the databases for the NBA first quarter and first half and the NHL first period stuff that we have unveiled up on BetterDay.com, well, we've been saying his name for a couple of days now and promoting the databases, and the man behind the data himself is Kevin Rogers. Kevin, thanks so much for being a part of this journey here at Better Day. And you and I, we've known each other for a little bit now. I've had you on other shows in the past, and I'm really happy to be working with you on this project because you put so much work into your databases, and I'm just happy that we can provide our followers some access to it and make it fully interactive, sortable, easy to view on mobile. Everyone's gotten a real kick out of it so far, and it's just only the beginning. So I wanted to start out by just thanking you for the work that you're doing, Kev.
I appreciate it, Scott, and I thank you for seeing this and trying to make it go further. That I've started some of these databases, and the other one I have too that you've seen in the past just doesn't apply now is for Major League Baseball as well for first 5 innings and strikeout props. But obviously we're not in baseball season. But it basically, the idea just came from getting everything in a sortable database. That was it. I just thought, it wasn't a brilliant idea. It just was more about, I can't find these things. You can find them. You just have to click on every single box score, go through every single team. You can do it. It just takes a lot of time. And I just want to kind of put it all together and make it easy for everyone to look at, and expanding it past baseball and then into the NHL first periods, which, again, you see them there. Some sites may have first period stats, but all they have is just the records. They don't have team-by-team breakdowns, which we have. And the same thing with the NBA. You can click on each individual team as opposed to just seeing, okay, Memphis is 5-4 in the first quarter. That's great, but now I can see what they've done in every game and compare them and see what the scores have been, what the totals are, to kind of get some ideas. So that's kind of what we want to do, is put everything just kind of more in a sortable place for you to do your research.
Yeah, you can't find this anywhere. Like you said, Kevin, the information's out there, but to have it all in one place that's easily accessible for everyone to get everything in one click, to me, it's just incredible. And yes, we will have the baseball coming up next baseball season, so don't worry, guys. The first 5 innings, the strikeout stuff, that's going to be on there. And you mentioned it, Kevin. You can click on each team, and that's where I think is just so valuable here in the database. For those of you who have played around with it a little bit, or maybe you haven't, go to BetterDay.com. The drop-down menus are there. Under the NBA tab, you'll see the first quarter, first half database. Under the NHL tab, you'll see the first period database. And when you click on each team, like for instance, Denver is one of the best, if not the best first quarter teams in the NBA. You can click on Denver and you'll get their entire game-by-game breakdown, what they've done in the first quarter, in the first half. And this is what I love the most, Kevin. You include the offensive and defensive ratings in both the first half and for the full game. Why did you find value in those numbers?
I just felt like, Scott, that yes, you could provide the score, which is helpful, but also kind of get an idea if one team shot lights out, the other team struggled from the floor, and to take it to another level. Okay, let's just say that that team does well the one game. Now I kind of feel like, and it's not automatic, but I kind of feel like, all right, you do something this one game, you're going to regress the next game. Or if you were terrible defensively in the first quarter, you'll probably step up and tighten up the next game. So that's kind of what I looked at, that yes, you can look at trends. Memphis was on like a 9 straight under run before the game against the Knicks, where that one just exploded in the first. So they like to say trends are your friends until they're not. So you can look at them and, you make your decision on it. But going back to the ratings thing, just seeing the first quarter, the first half, and for the game, what you can do by looking at these numbers gives you maybe a little different angle on how to play it, to say, okay, I don't think this is going to keep up with some of these teams, whether they were great or poor. It could change. Maybe not the next game, maybe in 2 games. Maybe you shot lights out for 2 games. Maybe it's going to go back the next game. So just want to put that out there just besides the score that you can look at.
Oh, that's a great way of looking at it, because, yeah, you can certainly just look at the numbers and just say, I always say this when it comes to prop betting, right? Like, I think the lazy way to talk about prop betting is just saying, well, this guy went over in 4 straight games, or this guy went under in 5 straight games. Like, there has to be nuances to it. Like, tell me why. And by looking at the info in this database, yeah, we can say that this team went under however many games in a row. But was it because of their opponents maybe shooting poorly? Was it because they were shooting poorly? And then how do we use that data to then come up with a good bet for the next game? So I do think that's very important to look at look inside the results to find out exactly why. Moving over to the NHL, which I have just been, and I've been obsessed with your NHL database ever since you first sent it to me a couple of seasons ago. What I love the most about what we have provided here for everyone is same thing. We have the first period data. You can look at the over-unders. You can look at how teams have done on the first period line. But if you click on each team, you'll find a game-by-game breakdown. Not only do you have the starting goaltender for each game listed, so now if you wanted to break it down by which goaltender is going to be playing in that game, you could say, hey, bad first period, good first period, whatever it is. Also available in the game-by-game breakdown, the shot-on-goal numbers in the first period, the power play and penalty kill numbers in that first period, and this is the best. This is where I think there's so much value, Kevin. The time of the goals. We talk about betting the gifts, the goal in first 10, yes or no, all the time. Here's you have the data. You know when the goals are being scored. It's all here for you in this first period database.
I'm actually going to take you a step further on that, Scott. The reasoning behind the time of goal wasn't necessarily for the first 10 minutes. It was more for live betting and to see if some of these teams, if there was any trends with these teams, just in the NHL overall. Instead of taking over -1.5 at like -140 or -150, you live bet it, wait 3 or 4 minutes into the game, and then you can get it like -110, something like that. And then if these teams, if you see, I tracked it last year. I don't have like definite numbers, but I did see some teams had like 70% of the time you waited like 4 minutes if you like the over. That's what it is. You can't just like blindly bet the over, but if you like the over, just wait a few minutes into the game. Now, if someone scores 2 minutes in, axe it, let it go. But if they don't, wait 3 or 4 minutes and then let that number drop. You're going to get a much better number there, and then bet the over. And there are times you could see, if you look through each team, sometimes there's 2 goals in a period scored 9 minutes in and 12 minutes in, or even 11 minutes in and 14 minutes in. That because a goal has been scored in 3 minutes doesn't mean you're not going to get an over. So you can look at that. And just another example, I'm in Florida. I'm stuck with Hard Rock. That's the only book we have in the state of Florida. And if you watch any kind of TV, they'll tell you it's the only one because you have all the commercials on all the time. But besides that, if you see it on there, you get about 8 minutes into the period, and it shifts to, if it's scoreless, it goes to over a half a goal. So the 1.5 is gone, it goes to over half goal. So if you wait a little bit of time and maybe get about 11 minutes into the period, maybe you can get a good number on over half, just get 1 goal in the final 9 minutes. And by having the information of the time of the goals, you can kind of see the percentage of these teams and how often a goal is scored or 2 goals are scored later in a period, as opposed to saying, okay, I'm just going to lay the 145 on the over 1.5. Maybe if you wait a little bit, you could just lay 110 or 105 or something like that. And at least if you lose, you're not burning as much juice.
That's amazing. And that's an aspect that I didn't even frankly think of. So thank you for mentioning that. And so use that value added here for you guys that are looking at the database and trying to figure out ways to capitalize on this info. The live betting angle is a tremendous way, as Kevin's mentioning. And I'm just looking right now. I mean, I just pulled up the NHL database and I'm looking at the first team, Anaheim, who's one of the best, first period over teams in the NHL. And you look at the time of the goals, there's only been 3 games that there's been a goal in the first 3 minutes. So, it's 221, 103, and 210. That's it. Every other period that has had goals, again, this is one of the best over teams in the first period in the NHL. They've all come after the 3-minute mark. So if you wait the first 3 minutes of the game in that period, hey, you can get a live over 1.5 at reduced juice, maybe even a plus money play, and you get one of the best over teams in the first period at a much better value price point. So I do think that is fascinating there that you point that out, and I hope that people will take advantage of this. I'm very thrilled with the way that this turned out, Kevin. I do think that there's just going to be so much value for the viewers here and people that go to the website, betterday.com. Again, the NBA first quarter, first half database is there under the NBA tab. Under the NHL tab, you'll see the drop-down menu for the first period database there. It's all sortable. You can search by team. You could search by stat. You could click on each team and find their game-by-game breakdowns. It's all there, fully interactive and very easy to view on mobile as well, because we know most of you just use your cell phones. Kevin, before we let you go, anything that jump out to you? We'll start in the NBA, and then we'll go to the NHL. What's been like your big takeaway so far in both of these sports? Like, have you noticed through the first, while you're compiling all this data, is this been like an abnormally high scoring early portion of the NBA season? Is it a low scoring portion of the NBA season? What's jumped out to you while you're collecting all your information here?
I'm just looking at a lot of high-scoring first quarters, and there are a lot of teams that, obviously the Heat have had some crazy first quarters, but to go back to another point, just veering off for 1 second, the Heat this year, 2 of their first quarters, they scored 44 at Memphis. Next game scored 24 in the first. They scored 53 against Charlotte last Friday. Next game, 27 in the first. So that's where I said, look at the offensive rating. They had 163 offensive rating in the first quarter against Memphis, 96 against the Knicks the next game, and then against Charlotte, it was 176.7, which I got to believe is the highest one this year in a quarter. Next game against Portland, 96.4. So it dropped off considerably in that next game, and that's just what I'm looking for, is just to see what looks abnormal and maybe go the other way. So we're seeing a lot of, there are teams that have trended under in the first quarter and the first half. But at the same time, one of my main reasons, really, Scott, for doing this as well, besides the, trying to compile this stuff and looking at some new stats, is instead of sitting through a whole game, a first period in the NHL takes about 40 minutes. So you can be done with your bet in 40 minutes, and I know that people like the micro betting, they want it fast. I get it. But also, first quarter is pretty quick. A first half is pretty quick. I'm not telling you not to bet the game, but at least you have the same thing with the first 5 innings, that it just goes a little bit faster. So then at least you only concentrate on that and try to capitalize on it. Be like, okay, I don't care what happens in the final 3 quarters. I won my first quarter. I'm out, and move on. So that's just another reason too, is it kind of is a little more of a, bite-sized betting, if you will. But just to go back to your original question, what stuck out, obviously, I think, we've seen a lot of overs, a lot of high-scoring quarters in the first, for the NBA. For the NBA. For the NHL, one thing I want to throw out to you, too, that this is something that goes a little under the radar, that if you go in the first period, a little like 3-way betting, last year, I believe it was the Kings and the Hockey Club at the time, because they didn't change the name yet, Utah, that they led the NHL in first period ties. So if you want, take the first period ties with some of these teams. The Nashville Predators, heading into Tuesday's action, 3-5-10 in the first period. They're 3-1-7 at home. So basically, they've trailed one time in 11 tries at home through one period, but also they've only led 3 times. That if you take the tie, those are like plus 175, plus 180. So if you want to hope for that, or even live bet it, maybe hope that Nashville, for instance, just because they've been the highest one. Chicago's 5-2-9 as well. Another team that has a lot of ties. That maybe if someone scores in the first period, you take the tie now, and you're going to get some good value there because now someone is winning, regardless of if it's Nashville or their opponent. Just go with the tie and see what happens. You can get some good value there, some good plus money on some of these teams. And again, it's not a guarantee, but just looking at teams that tend to tie, and you watch a broadcast and you say 0-0 after the first, okay. But for us, we're like, ooh, that's good, or 1-1 after the first, great. You get a tie. So just that's something else I think to kind of put away. Anaheim is 0-2-7 on the road in the first period. So a lot of ties for them early on. So just something to kind of keep an eye on, just trying to get some plus money value in some of these games.
Yeah, or if they're a dog, you could take the half a goal. Plus a half a goal in the first period.
Yeah.
And then listen, if they're winning, great. Or if they're tied, great. So if they're a team that faces, has a lot of ties in the first period, that could be another way. If they're a dog in the game, sometimes you get that plus a half a goal here in the first period. Well, Kevin, we appreciate your work so much, man. This is awesome. Obviously, we're going to keep rolling you out here on the podcast. We'll get some picks from you up on the website as well. We're just so thrilled to be working with you here at Better Day. Guys, if you're not familiar with Kevin's work, go follow him on Twitter. It's at Rogers Picks, R-O-G, no D. It's not A-Rod. Nope. R-O-G-E-R-S, Picks. Rogers Picks is on Twitter. Kevin does great stuff for Prize Picks, has a podcast, Locked On Bets. He's been all over the place. Has worked for some of the biggest gambling outlets around over the past several years, and we are lucky to have him helping us out here at Better Day. So continue to check out the website. We will be adding more features to come, so I'm very excited about where we are headed with Better Day, and get used to Kevin's voice because you're going to be hearing it more often here on this podcast, and you'll be reading some of the work on the platform as well. So Kevin, thanks so much, man. Appreciate it, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate the time.
Man, great stuff from Kevin. Really glad that he was able to join us, and you will be hearing from him more frequently on this Better Day podcast. Mackenzie Rivers back with me here. What did you make of that conversation, Mac? And what do you think about the way that he was talking about using the data to attack from different types of bets?
Love it. There's so much in data that can be missed. For example, if you look at the Nuggets and you look at the Wizards, both go over a lot in the first quarter. Both are decent first quarter teams compared to their relative results. But if you look at the offensive rating, you realize the Nuggets are just killing teams. They're just playing very efficient, very good basketball, where the Wizards are sometimes getting lucky. They have 150 offensive rating in the first quarter. They have 60. Their pace makes the overs very attractive. But if you're looking at the side, there's much more to dig in with the per possession, which you get with the offensive and defensive rating.
Yep. So really good ways. And I thought the NHL live betting conversation was just really on point. All right, that'll do it for this episode. As a reminder, head to the website, betterday.com. Make sure you guys subscribe. We have new features coming out over the next couple of weeks, and we are, just getting ready to rock and roll. I think once the calendar hits December, we are good, man. This is gonna be a great time to jump on board with us here at betterday.com. For Mackenzie Rivers, I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.